What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDoWorkHereLady. This story's called A Firefighter at the Scene of a Fire. Imagine that. So this happened a couple of months ago, and it made me laugh, so I hope y'all enjoy. It's kinda long, so please bear with me. I should start off with I am a career firefighter. It's my main job and has been for over a decade, and for the record, I am off duty during this story. My wife and I were out on a date night in a big city we live just outside of. We love the city, but don't really go down into town too often. So we had a nice dinner at my wife's favorite restaurant, then went to a small carnival-like setup on the rooftop of a building nearby. It was a fun evening, and as it was getting late, we decided to leave and find something else to do. As we made our way down through the building, a very old department store that later served as a government building for a while before being repurposed again, we wandered through some of the stores. We finally make it to the front door of the building, and I hear sirens in the distance. It's at this exact moment that I smell the smoke. Now, having worked for one of the busiest departments in the South, I know what is burning by the smell of the smoke. We look over and there is a column of dark smoke and fire coming out of a building. Being that we knew the area well, we immediately knew what building it was. Event space and a kind of weird antique store. We walk up the sidewalk across the street from the building to get a closer look as the firefighters arrived en masse to get the blaze under control. By this point, a crowd had gathered on the sidewalk to watch all of this unfold. My wife was asking me questions because she doesn't ever really get to see me in action, another story for another time, and I'm explaining how to read the smoke, tell what's going on with the fire, and what the units inside are doing, that kind of stuff. As I am explaining all of this, the wind shifts and blows some of the smoke around to our direction. Not bad enough for any kind of hazard though. As we move to get a better view of what's going on, my wife is short, this woman, I'll call her entitled Barbie, probably in her late teens or early 20s, looks at us and says, while filming on her phone,
"Now calm down here, guys. I think we're okay here. Besides, we were here first and you're standing in the way of my shot."
in a sarcastic and smug tone, and her boyfriend let out a snort of laughter. I should mention here that we were standing about 6 feet to the side of her, but I'm guessing they heard us talking about everything. And without missing a beat, my spitfire of a wife deadpan looks at her and says, in the sweetest southern accent you've ever heard,
"Yeah, well, he's a fireman, so I think he probably knows a lot more about what all is going on than you do."
Cue the color draining from entitled Barbie's face and her eyes getting as big as saucers as she puts down her phone. If she had tried to backpedal any faster, she would have ended up in last week. Entitled Barbie, looking at me now,
"So, do you think we're okay here? Or do you think we need to move? What are they doing in there now?"
Her boyfriend didn't say anything. He just kept his eyes glued to the ground and his head down. I respond professionally and respectfully answering her questions, pretty much the same ones that I had just explained to my wife, and my wife and I take our leave as the fire was now out. But as soon as we got out of earshot, I burst out laughing. Firefighters are so badass. Definitely something I would probably do if other stuff doesn't work out. They're just so cool, and stuff like this just freaking solidifies that. I know he didn't really do anything necessarily cool, but just like, oh, I could tell what was burning just by the freaking smell of the smoke and all that jazz. It's so cool. Let me know if you're like a firefighter in the comments, because like, that'd be cool, and like, you'll gain cool boy points in my eyes. Or cool girl, but you'd still get cool boy points, because that's just the name of the points. This story's called Pizza Delivery to a Rude, Nasty, Condescending, Barren, and Rich Woman while I was 8 months pregnant. I posted this in a comment section of a marquee Reddit YouTube video, as he asked for some of our stories and wanted to also post it here for Reddit to enjoy as well. Pardon any errors, as I'm dyslexic. If anyone wishes to share this on YouTube or any other platform, just comment and link please story on with thee. I worked at Pizza Place with a red hat logo as a driver while I was very, very pregnant. I had ordered a new work shirt as I had gotten way too big in the belly to have my shirt cover my belly bump. My watermelon-sized belly was getting rather round due to all the free pizza I was getting from my managers that wanted to help my skinny butt grow a baby better. Well, I was allowed to wear a plain black t-shirt as long as it had my name tag and hat on until a new shirt arrived the next day. I had gotten a delivery run in the very rich area of town called Feather Sound. At first, I was really happy because this area was known for its great tips. And when you are a driver, you want all the tips you can get because you are not reimbursed for your fuel costs, except $1 a run minimum, and this was during a time where gas prices were the worst we had seen in like 8 years. These people had ordered a huge amount of food, 15 boxes of medium pizzas altogether. They had a sale on medium pizzas at the time. I walked up to the door first with no pizza to make sure I got the right address and to see if anyone would want to help grab so many boxes, as I was rather obviously fat with baby. I get to the door and the most typical Karen woman, minus the blonde hair, and instead had black Dorothy Day hair. Answering it almost yells at me before I can speak.
Who are you? Who invited you to the party?
Very rudely. I hesitate for a split second in a bit of shock and say, sorry ma'am, I had to order a new work shirt, but I'm your delivery driver, Liz, for your pizza order? She states to me rudely, but not as bad,
But where's the pizza? And why are you pregnant?
She said that last word with some disgust in her voice. I said as nicely as I could at first, "Ma'am, I'm sorry for any confusion, but since it was a large order, I wanted to check to see if this was the right door, and to see if possibly someone could help me carry the 15 boxes up to your lovely home." It was a McMansion with a long walk from the curb to the front, and I had a small oil leak in my car and didn't want to even dare to ask to use her pristine drive. And I'm pregnant because, well, it happens when you get married. I said the last sentence a tiny bit condescending as she was scowling at me. She then started to go on a long diatribe of how she was not going to help me or have anyone help me as,
Pregnant or not, it is your job to serve me.
and how
Nothing better be eaten or I will call and get you fired.
I got really sick of her attitude and my feet were hurting from being on them all day in my current condition, so I just said, no problem, and walked to the car while she was still talking. I know she was technically in the right, but it doesn't hurt to see if someone doesn't have a heart or possibly a spare kid to lend me for a few minutes to get everything taken care of faster. I decided to be a bit of a schlong and stack all 15 pizzas and walk carefully to the door so I could get away from her as fast as I could. She was standing there, realizing I had enough of her with her arms crossed, and stood away from the doorway and said,
Put them on the table inside, now!
I realized that she was just being a butthole as I saw many children about 12 to 15 years old that could have helped out, or at least gotten them from the door to the table, as there was a policy that we were to never enter a home due to risks of mugging or other attacks. I didn't want to fight her at this point and wanted away from her, so as I passed her into her home, I said, "Ma'am, it is policy that we don't enter the house, but since this is just too many to try and take out of my arms, I'll quickly do it." This turned out to be the best thing, cause as I got to the table, her sweet husband saw me from the kitchen, and he realized what was going on as his wife had started complaining again about
Poor service.
and stating that
Your pregnant self better had not eaten any of her sweet children's food.
once I gave her their receipt and the total when I got back to the door, her husband got really red in the face, and as she started to hand me a check, which I could see that she had left me literally 5 cents as a tip, he grabbed it from her quietly, read the amount, and gave her a face that said, "Shut up, Karen!" He then proceeded to hand me in cash the cost of the food and a $50 tip. She was silent as this happened and kept her head low. And one of the children then said,
Wow, that is so much pizza, Mommy. Why did you have her take it all up? We could have helped, like the last time we had a party, and we helped that old man.
This statement got her eyes really bugged out as I just smiled and thanked them both for ordering with our pizza place. As the door shut, you could see that her husband was glaring at her, and her eyes were the size of dinner plates. As I got to the car, I could hear the faint, stern voice of the husband, which sounded like he was laying into her. When I got back to the restaurant, apparently the husband had called to apologize to the nice pregnant woman for his horrible wife's treatment, as she always gets nasty to pregnant women as she had to adopt all of their children. What a nice husband, dude. I hope she learns not to be a schlong to women just because they are with child and she is unable to birth a child. Yeah, hopefully that Karen works through her issues and realizes those adopted children are just as much her children as any birthed from her. And I'm sure those children are very grateful to have been adopted into such a nice, and I use nice loosely, home. I'm kidding, I'm sure that she's lovely when she's not jealous. This story's called, A 17-Year-Old Girl Can't Be the Boss at a Delivery Service? Okay then. So, I'm not sure if this is the right subreddit for my story, but it's similar to the stories I've seen on here, so I'll give it a try. Also, English is not my first language, so please excuse if there are some mistakes. There's the cast. There's me obviously.
Ransom mother.
Shift supervisor. For context, my coworkers call me boss since I pretty much take care of everything happening at the store while being on my shift. Like making sure the restaurant is clean, packing orders, and telling the delivery guys which one they have to take, correcting the kitchen if they mess up, taking orders, answering phone calls, and so on. Alright, story time! I work at a popular delivery service in my state, but we also have a small space that we use as some kind of restaurant. I've been working there for more than a half a year, and I really like to go there on school days to spend my lunch break there and eat something. I was doing exactly that on a day where the delivery part of our store had a lot of orders incoming, so my coworkers barely had time for people ordering at the restaurant. I've watched a family entering the store while enjoying my meal, and since the others had a lot to do, they were at least standing at the register for 10 minutes. Since I usually work at the cash register, I put my meal aside and take a seat behind the register. Hey there, may I take your order? The woman looks at me really confused and lifts an eyebrow. To be fair, I am the only girl working at the restaurant, by far the youngest one, and I was wearing regular clothes. But I knew that my coworkers were glad that I took over the cash register, so I didn't see a problem.
I'd like to talk to an employee. What are you even doing behind the register?
Miss, I am an employee here. I regularly have school today, but I jump in for my coworkers since, as you can see, they have a lot to do right now. So, may I please take your order? Random mom is getting kinda pissed now since I wouldn't let her talk to an employee, but I didn't really mind. Wasn't the first time that a customer got mad. Now looking at my coworkers,
why is nobody getting her away from the register? Could I please talk to the boss here?
I turned around to my coworkers and my shift supervisor had a big grin on his face, which was a sign for me that I could continue. Of course, they had a lot to do, but they always keep an eye on me as soon as I'm at the restaurant, due to harassment in the past and because I'm somewhat like their little sister. Well, you're talking to the boss right now, so may I please take your order?
Are you kidding me? How freaking old are you?
17, miss. Random mom was getting really rude now, so my supervisor took the time to come over and help me out a bit. Hey boss, any problems? I explained the whole situation to him, and he sent me to do his tasks at the kitchen while he was taking random woman's order. Her face was priceless as I went back to my meal afterwards so I can enjoy the rest of my lunch break in peace. This story maybe isn't as exciting as other stories on here, but I really wanted to share it and maybe it made some of y'all smile. Have a nice day and stay healthy. What kind of sexist, ageist bullcrap is that Karen up to? Also, really good on OP here for stepping up and taking charge when she really probably doesn't need to. I said probably weird, but I'm probably gonna leave that in there. Ha! Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.